Hey, girlfriend.
Hey, girlfriend.
Good morning to you. I'm so excited, girlfriends. We are diving into a topic that, truth be told, gets us nervous about making our podcast half the time, which is brain fog.
This is no joke.
No joke.
How many times have we, even having a conversation about it, one of
Yeah.
us, our brains will short out.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel
Yes.
like we've gotten really good because we talk about it so much. We will just laugh
Yes.
and work through it and just be like, yep, brain fog is
Brain fog.
real,
Brain.
and honoring it in a way, knowing that it's not permanent, but
Yes.
it's painful in the moment, I find sometimes.
Oh my gosh. So today we want to talk about our personal experiences with it, some pain points, y'all, especially for Gen X women who are going through menopause, aging, and then we also have a couple of really interesting solutions that we think can help you out. So don't despair. We have a little bit of some ideas for you that I'm really excited about. So, honey, how does brain fog like manifest in you mostly? What do you think are the like couple of key things?
I'd say a couple of key things
Mm.
are, especially lately, I have so much I want to say, so much I want to communicate, so much going on inside of me. And I am so done, pretending like the being part of the world that's like, how are you? Fine. I'm so not there anymore. And there's a lot I want to say. And I figured out the people in my life who I can say those things to, and the people who are not worth the energy of being like, well, and then this. But lately,
Mm.
I'm so trying to communicate something with so much intensity. And then I'm just like, and I just
Bloop,
get stuck like that.
bloop,
And I
dot,
recently
dot,
had it
dot, dot,
happen
dot.
with
Mhm.
somebody new who I met. We were having the most delightful, energizing, charging conversation.
Mm.
And my brain shorted out like 3 times.
Oh,
And I finally just named it, but I walked away from that like, that was such a frustrating conversation for me. The other person didn't seem bothered at all. The next time I
right.
saw them, they were delighted to see me and referenced our charming conversation.
Mhm.
But I still felt this twinge of like, oh, I didn't get to communicate everything I wanted to say. And my brain was not being my friend.
Oh,
I think that's the overall feeling.
right.
And I know I can do better and be better. And yet I'm just leaving open sentences on the table.
Right, right. And what that feeling of your brain not being your friend makes you feel like you can't completely count on it, which then can trigger like a little bit of insecurity or confusion. And you're like, can I rely on what it is I have to say? And we know that a lot of brain fog, especially menopausal stuff, is connected to hormones and neurotransmitters. So you're absolutely right. It's like a brain thing. And we're like, what do I do for that? I feel you so much. Those like pregnant pauses that we didn't mean to have. And especially when you're like on a roll and you're so into it. And all of a sudden it's just like, ah.
Yeah.
So it is so helpful to be with girlfriends and in community where people are like, oh, I get it. Take your time. Right. And then really trying to be, our friend, even if in that moment our brain isn't our friend. Right? Because it's
Mm.
really easy to just start feeling a little self-judgmental and embarrassed. And I get it. So I feel you on that one so much. The one I was thinking of, and I want to say because I'm through menopause as of a couple years now, it has smoothed out.
I'm so relieved to hear that. Yeah.
I can see clearly now. The fog
Mm.
is gone for the most part. Then there's the fun thing about, I would say, just aging and like word recall, name recall, things
Mm.
like that, that I understand get a little bit slower, when you're like, the lady, like that. That's fun. But the one that I remember in the thick of brain fog, that was so frustrating for me was when I was trying to multitask, especially with my family, and I'd be like, "Go, get your backpack, and I'll get the banana for the car ride." And they're like, "Banana? You mean the car keys?" I would literally fill in the wrong word for something.
Mm.
But I noticed that it was often when I was like speedy, trying to take care of too many things at once, I would sometimes I would freak myself out. I would go to like pick up a cup and I would refer to it as a bowl or something. It's like, am I losing my damn mind?
Yeah. I can feel all the girlfriends relaxing right now, like, okay, we're talking about the thing that so many of us don't are not even articulating for ourselves. That those moments, some people call them senior moments, some people
Yes.
call them brain farts.
Yeah.
I just like my brain just sort of shorts out a little bit, and I know our girlfriends can feel this. They know what we're talking about, don't you, girlfriend?
Girlfriend, also, I gotta say, it was really interesting after COVID that more brain fog was discussed openly
Yes.
because guess who was involved, right?
Mm.
So, we, I think, have been keeping this a hush hush topic among ladies for a very, very long time. But now that brain fog is more out in the open, I think we should be as well about it, especially when we
Mm.
feel like we are in a safe environment. So I do have some ideas for us when we are, say, at work or in a professional environment or with a group of people where we really don't want brain fog to come up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's so helpful because the stakes are high. And just because we're having brain fog doesn't mean we're slowing down in our careers or making a difference. In fact, so many girlfriends of a certain age are actually making a more impact now than ever in their lives
Yes.
because we feel so crystal clear about what we are and who we are. So to be able to articulate that, and how lucky are we to have a international voice coach who helps women of a certain age learn how to love their voice.
Yeah.
And so you recently did a beautiful article on Substack
Thank you.
about brain fog and
Yes.
speaking. So
Yes.
would you share a little with us about
Oh my gosh, my
how we get this
pleasure.
going?
Absolutely. So I wrote it on Substack, like Lachey saying, under my Substack called Love Your Voice. And the title is How to Speak with Brain Fog. And I've gotten a lot of responses. So a lot of women wanted this information. So I have 5 steps that I want to remind us all that we can be using in daily conversation or in professional settings. The first one is my loving reminder for us all to kiss. Keep it simple, sweetheart.
Mm,
Right? I think in both instances, when we were just talking about either multitasking or being on a really big roll with a friend and wanting to dive in deep, it's very easy for us to get into the weeds of what it is we have to say. But if you wake up one day and actually recognize that you are having a little bit of brain fog, or if you're anticipating an event where you really want to make sure that you can, feel articulate, keep it more simple, especially avoid using complicated language,
mm,
especially if it's in some sort of inside jargon. It's going to be easier for you to trip up on the words. And honestly, it's not as productive for the people you're speaking with, right?
mhm.
Simpler is better. Even if we're talking to other experts in our field, we want to simplify the language. It's just going to make it that much more relatable. And it does also absolutely help with brain fog.
And that's one I really struggle with. 'Cause I just so many words are showing up, so many words to say. And yes, when I read that, it's like, oh, okay. So it's going to be another spiritual practice for me to take
Mhm.
on
Yes.
to speak more simply.
And when you listen to really wonderful public speakers, they are actually speaking in really simple language most of the time.
Mm,
Their key thing is being relatable, right? And what's more relatable than using language that we can relate to, right? If we start using really flowery language or wanting to show off our beautiful vocab, it can actually distance ourselves. So, I mean, when you're compelled to use a beautiful word, use it, but don't at all feel obligated to. And simpler is better. Yeah.
Interesting, because I think a lot of us are using more complicated, flowery language to also show ourselves as being good enough and smart enough and
Mm.
deserving of the seat at the table. And so I think there's a lot too that's happening in our minds of like, oh, well, how could I take that and expand on it? And how can I? And so we often will get ourselves in trouble. I see that.
Absolutely. If we feel like we need to prove ourselves, we're going to be more inclined to use, bigger, fancier words. And if we're nervous about brain fog, we may want to sort of prove how competent we are. And then it can be a
Mm,
kind of vicious cycle if we overload our brain. especially if it's in the fog.
Yeah.
So keeping it simple, having things like some bullet points, some talking points, relying on slide notes, anything that you can do to just simplify when you're talking to a group is key. And then number two is really related, which is to be concise,
Mm,
to say what you mean what you say, and leave it at that. And I will admit, this is one of my practices that I'm still struggling with. I always want to add on something more. Be sure you understood what I said, which I also think relates to a little bit of a recovering people pleaser.
mm,
Did you understand what I said? Did I make it clear enough?
mm.
And 9 times out of 10, you did, and you think you need to add on more, when in fact, what you said, being concise, will actually be more impactful.
Yeah, I totally see that. And I think too, as we get older,
Mhm.
we do want to be seen and heard. And then we're battling this outside thing from the culture, which is ageism,
Yes.
right? And we also don't want to be misunderstood,
No.
which also feels related to the recovering good girl piece that you and I are so powerfully charging
Yes.
a healing path through to
Mhm.
the other side.
Absolutely, and there is, unfortunately, a little bit of, like, gender research that shows that, women oftentimes feel compelled to over-explain, where men oftentimes feel compelled to under-explain.
We love that so
Oh,
much.
yeah. Could you maybe expand a little on what you mean there, right? And so we are sometimes speaking different languages, but I do think if you're feeling under pressure, let yourself off the hook. You can say something simply and you can say it in a short, concise way, and it is perfectly fine. It might surprise you. It might actually be even more powerful. All right.
Mm,
The third one is also really key when you're speaking and you're worried about brain fog, which is to slow your roll, slow down a little.
mm.
On the days when we feel a little more foggy, a little more confused, or in the moment, if it creeps up on us, speak at a tempo where you can really be present in every word you're saying. And I have clients do this, and at first it feels really strange to them, but I always hold up the golden standard, former President Barack Obama. Listen to his tempo of speech. He is slow, but he is so thoughtful. You know that he's not throwing one word away in a sentence.
Mm.
So when we can speak at a slow enough tempo that we're really aware of each word we're using, it's also going to really communicate how, competent we are.
So far, these first 3 are all the ones I struggle with.
It's universal. So many people struggle with this. I mean, these are key public speaking skills, period, but specifically for women and for brain fog, absolutely. I mean,
Mm.
it's so normal. It happens all the time. So you are not alone feeling this way. And these are things I'm still practicing. It's a daily practice. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up another really key part, which is the ageism. I think that part of our mission in this podcast is about staying present, staying loud, staying, relevant. And when we forget a word or use the wrong word, it makes us want to hide.
I was just thinking that exact thing. Yes, this is the kind of thing that has me. Did I rest enough last night? Do I want to throw my hat in the ring? Do I want to speak up? I've
Mhm.
had this more lately on Zoom meetings.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And Zoom meetings are harder too because you're a little separate. So the focus can be harder
Mm.
because there aren't the people there. So sometimes if it just feels like I'm having such a hard focus, put a picture nearby of someone who you love and feel comfortable with. Try to make it feel more personal
Ah,
to yourself. So, yes, the Zoom is just like one more barrier to
right.
feeling connection.
It was so hard. I got called on. I wasn't planning on speaking. I had to be on the meeting, but I didn't have an active role. But then someone said my name. What do you think, Flachet? And I was already thinking, today is not a good brain day. It's a good thing I'm not leading this meeting, or I'm not on the agenda. I don't have to say nothing.
Yeah,
And sure enough, and then a word salad came out of my face. In some respects, I do think that there were some salient points, but I
sure.
I turned that off, I turned my camera off, just slumped back, and I was like, "I don't know what the hell that was."
Right. What did I just say?
But I was so not prepared, I was so
Mm.
not expecting it, and so I those moments of just, like a moment like that makes me want to hide away.
And so being on Zoom, everyone's attention span is shorter. So actually keeping it even simpler
Mhm.
is better,
Mhm.
right? Watch the
Yeah.
people on Zoom who are being effective. They are very direct. They're looking at their camera and they are speaking in very direct, engaging ways. It's also a good idea to be a little more animated on Zoom,
Mm.
which is also another step, which is to use body language. Because when we're gesturing, when we're engaging with our eyes, when we're enunciating with our mouth, we're sending signals to our brain that we are, in fact, alert.
Mm.
So you can kind of do like a reverse engineering and wake your brain up by communicating in a more animated way.
Ah,
Uh-huh. And
that's
that will that
interesting.
that could help your brain fog. And definitely on Zoom, it's going to make you so much more engaging. Mhm. So that's step number 4 is to definitely use body language in person or on Zoom. It will be your friend. It'll just make you a stronger communicator. And
Mm.
perhaps if the word is somewhere else, your hands can lead you there, right?
Yes. Right, well, and sometimes the other person can help fill in the gap.
Yeah.
When they see you, it's like, "Oh, she's struggling. Applesauce? Applesauce, thank you."
That's also another really key thing is if you're in a group setting where you have some coworkers or some people, a partner, and you want to actually confide in them, hey, I'm a little nervous today. Absolutely make sure they have your back. They could jump
Mm.
in. They could
Mm.
jump in if they're sensing something. I mean, we do that instinctively on our own podcast, but you can absolutely, if you're in the environment where you can entrust someone, do it. Do it. You don't
Yeah.
have to go through brain fog alone, right?
I mean, what this is so speaking to in me is the importance of community, of having like-minded people where we can show up and not be perfect. Because
Yeah.
the Zoom meeting where you get called on unexpectedly or having to say something and really important in a moment, those moments happen and they're happening in the real world and that we can't
Absolutely.
control those. But to have a soft place to fall with a girlfriend is
Mhm.
like everything.
Yeah.
You know, I know that I can just show up as I am with you.
Mm,
And I have so many other amazing, powerful women in my life who I have that with, where I have so many safe pockets
yes.
all around me. And I keep cultivating more and more and more.
It's really important for us to
This
find our
podcast
community.
is
Yeah.
us cultivating a really massive one.
Yes.
And so I think too, I wanna remind girlfriends to find that safe place, you know, where you
Mhm.
don't have to show up all polished and pretty and brain let your brain short out with you.
100%. And I always love sharing humor too. I mean, you can join us on our Substack, Girlfriends of a Certain Age, and let us know about the last brain fog experience you had. We will love you up and so be there with you because it's helpful to have a little humor around this thing, and it can be helped, right? Oftentimes, these are very temporary uh, stages in our life where we're either going through menopause or we might be a little extra sick, or but there can be all of these different solutions. And I have one more for all of our girlfriends. So this is just warming up before you speak. And honestly, I think every day of your life, doing a little warm up physical, some face stretches, some tongue twisters are great for
Mm.
firing up our brain and helping us focus. These are things that are going to help you in your daily life just feel more alert. So you can, when you go on the Substack Love Your Voice, I share a link to my warm up routine that you can do. And it's just a few minutes and it will help you just in your daily communication, right?
Mm.
So these are life skills that are helpful. And sleep, diet, and exercise
Right.
also are, the cornerstones for helping our brain fog. But you'll talk to so many women. It's like, well, I'm in menopause. I'm not sleeping well, right? I'm waking up in the night. So go easy on yourself, love yourself because you're dealing with real symptoms. You're not going crazy. You're not losing your mind. And there are so many other women struggling with this. So let's be real about it. Let's put it out there. Let's put it out there to our family. I actually finally did that. I said, hey guys, I'm actually going through a stage in my life where I sometimes mix up words. Mom is not losing her mind. This is something that's happening right now. And that really felt good just felt like a good way to let them know, even if they didn't notice it, that I'm feeling self-conscious about this.
Right. Well, my kids definitely notice. Mom, you're just saying weird words, but that's a really good point to just like lay it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is happening because I think back to when I was pregnant both
Mm.
times.
Oh, yes.
And we know
Brain fog is real in pregnancy.
exactly. And we called it pregnancy brain. And everybody thought it was charming and temporary. Right? And
Right.
so I think with menopause and perimenopause, because there's still such a it's so shrouded in stigma
Stigma.
and
It's not
mystery,
so charming.
when your own doctors are gaslighting you and just giving you
Mhm.
antidepressants for
Mhm.
every
Everything.
symptom that you possibly have, it is crazy making. It does make us
Mhm.
feel like, "Oh, may I really am sick? I really am? Am I depressed? Is that what I need?" I think
Mhm.
it makes us question ourselves, and that's another reason why the community is so important. But then how do we say it in a workspace where
Mhm.
ageism is rampant and somebody's eyeing your corner desk that took you 25 years to earn? I think it's very complicated.
I actually don't suggest to my clients to make jokes about their age or brain fog in a professional setting. There's already enough of it out there. We don't need
Mm,
to bring that up.
yeah.
It's fine. You misspoke. You're gonna correct it and you're gonna move on. And people of all ages do this. People who are a little scared of public speaking, which is over 70% of the people on earth, do this. So we're not alone. We're just often very, aware of what our reasoning might be.
Maybe even hyper aware.
Very likely hyper aware. But I actually think bringing attention to it just brings up something that maybe no one was even thinking in the room. And I think as we age, often we feel compelled to say, well, I'm clearly the grandma of the group. No, they might not be thinking about you that way. Don't pigeonhole yourself. I
Mhm.
don't recommend you do that. I think it's a little bit of a defense move, and I don't think in most settings it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I have to watch myself now. I wonder if I have done that in
Oh,
my work
sure.
setting. I for sure do it with friends.
Yeah.
And and I don't always even preface it as I'm saying this because I want to desensitize you too
Mhm.
that this is happening. But I will say, my brain is just not being my friend right now. Can you help me finish that sentence or something like that? I will do that.
Well, I think with friends, it's different. I
Yeah.
think then you call them in, you want
Mhm.
their help. I think more, I mean, in the sense of like labeling yourself, right?
Right.
Labeling yourself as the old one in your cohort,
Yeah.
right?
That gets really tricky.
Yeah, yeah. Just don't, they might not even be thinking that. And you just don't want anything, who needs another label? There's enough of these labels that we're dealing with. Yeah. Yeah. Just be your glorious self. And let's just do a quick rapid review, ladies, because that was a lot to remember for anybody on any good day, right? So remember, you're going to kiss. You're going to keep it simple, sweetheart, when you're talking in a, high stake situation. You're going to be concise. 3, you're going to slow your roll. You're going to slow down a little bit. 4, you're going to use body language. And 5, you're going to warm up before you meet to help you feel like you're the most alert, best self.
I love that. That's all very doable.
It's so doable. It's
Mm.
so doable. You can do it in one morning, and it's a muscle. So practice it. These are public speaking skills, like being concise, that we're still practicing all the time, but they're absolutely doable and achievable for
Yeah.
anyone. Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh, my
much.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, this has been something you and I have talked around and
Yeah.
danced around and talked about a little bit here or just named or stated, but to bring some real strategies and to bring our girlfriends in on it and just lay it out there.
Lay it out there. Absolutely. We're holding it down. We're the buoy in the fog for you, and we feel good about it. I'm glad we spoke
Mhm.
about this.
I do. I am really glad about it too. So thank you
My
for all
pleasure.
of the hard work you've done on
Yeah.
this and bringing it into a very relatable way, and
Mm,
how we're communicating, how we present ourselves. So on behalf of all the girlfriends watching, thank you.
my pleasure. Oh, it was totally my pleasure. All right. Well, until next time.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye.
ladies.